Want to start today with super interesting video from the former National Security Advisor John Bolton, who went on CNN and casually admitted to planning coups in the past. Now, this is fascinating, not in that it's a huge shock to any followers of American foreign policy over the years that the United States has been involved in organizing and planning coups. The interesting part is the just sort of casual and very nonchalant nature with which John Bolton says to Jake Tapper, listen, I've helped plan coups, and what Donald Trump did was not plan a coup. And the point that Bolton was trying to make was that Trump may have had delusions about staying in power, even though he didn't win. And he may have sort of casually said to Georgia officials or whoever, find me votes, send fake slates of electors or whatever. But that Trump was not organized enough. Trump was not smart enough. Trump was not scheming enough to really attempt a coup in any formal sense. And it's sort of a weird defense of Trump. And in so doing, he casually says, I've helped plan coups. When you plan a coup, it's much tougher than what Donald Trump was doing. So let's take a look at the first part of the conversation.
A lifetime occurrence.
I don't know that I agree with you. To be fair, with all due respect, one doesn't have to be brilliant to attempt a coup.
I disagree with that. As somebody who has helped plan coup d'etat, not here, but other places.
Of course,
it takes a lot of work, and that's not what he did. It was
coups are really tough work, guys.
Just stumbling around from one idea to another. Ultimately, he did unleash the rioters at the Capitol. As to that, there's no doubt. But not to overthrow the Constitution, to buy more time to throw the matter back to the states to try and redo the issue. And if you don't believe that, you're going to overreact. And I think that's a real risk for the committee, which has done a lot of good work, mostly when the witnesses testify, not when the members are opining. It is invariably the case that when you go too far trying to prove your case, you undermine it. And I think you got to give credit to the intelligence of the American people to listen to the witnesses.
Okay, so the point that Bolton is making is what Trump did was so unorganized that it's really hard to call it a coup attempt. And Bolton, of course, is comparing what Trump did to the coup attempts he's been involved in, and they're much more meticulously planned, I guess Bolton is saying. Bolton is saying, when I know how to plan coups, and it's way more organized. And of course that may be, but that doesn't change the intention of what Donald Trump was trying to do. Now, later in the interview, good for Jake Tapper, I guess, he goes back to this issue, but I do want to mention one thing, which is that Bolton, while he's saying the quiet parts out loud, obviously, Tapper was talking about attempting a coup. He said, you don't have to be brilliant to attempt a coup. And Bolton's saying to successfully execute the coup, you actually do need to be more brilliant, more organized, whatever. And it would have been important, I think, for Jake Tapper to say, well, hold on a second. Maybe you're right that for the coup to succeed, you need to be more intelligent or organized or whatever. But I'm talking about the attempt. And Trump attempted and failed, maybe due to incompetence, sort of talking past each other in that sense. And Tapper kind of lets him get away with it. It a little bit reminds me of this infinite monkey theorem. I don't know. This is just a silly thing. Well, maybe it's not silly, but it's the idea that if you put a bunch of monkeys in a room with a bunch of typewriters or maybe word processors or maybe personal computers or iPads or whatever with word processing software, if you put them in there long enough and let them tap away, eventually one of them will stumble across, a Shakespearean play or something, and they will write it. And the idea being, okay, as incompetent as Donald Trump might have been, if you continue allowing incompetent people to feel around in the dark for ways to stay in power, eventually they might successfully do it. You might get 1,000 failed coup attempts, and then eventually you get a successful one. Doesn't really make it any less dangerous if those are the intentions of someone in such a position of power. Jake Tapper goes back to it, and so let's look at that now. And John Bolton doesn't want to get into the specifics of the coups that he has planned.
To anathematize the rest of the Republican Party, and that's unacceptable.
I do want to ask a follow-up. When we were talking about what is capable, what you need to do to be able to plan a coup, and you cited your expertise having planned coups.
I'm not going to get into the specifics, but
it's so funny.
Successful coups?
Well, I wrote about Venezuela in the book, and it turned out not to be successful. Not that we had all that much to do with it, but I saw what it took for an opposition to try and overturn an illegally elected president, and they failed. The notion that Donald Trump was half as competent as the Venezuelan opposition is laughable.
Again, this is sort of, I mean, what he's saying is crazy. Obviously, the fact that he's planning coups is really hard work, Jake. Trust me, take it from me. Again, if you try to bribe someone and the target rejects the bribe, you've still committed a crime, assuming it can be proven, of course. Just because you were incompetent at doing it, you might plan a murder and do it so incompetently that it doesn't succeed. It doesn't mean it isn't attempted murder. And this insistence on Trump's just not nearly as competent as I was, and even we weren't able to successfully do the coup, is a crazy defense.
But I think there's another...
I feel like there's other stuff you're not telling me, though.
I'm sure there is. I think there's another point here that came out in the testimony that's not been stressed enough. Testimony...
All right, okay, so now he's going on to other things. So stunning stuff, casually admitting and saying, I'm not going to tell you about all the coups I've planned, but I'm much smarter than Trump, and even I didn't succeed in many of them. Incredible stuff, and just the reality of American foreign policy. There's no surprise. It is... The real shocker is it is this casual for the neocons like Bolton that the U.S. plans and attempts and often fails at executing coups. It's just part of what they do, and it's like, we're better at Trump than Trump at it, and so Trump's attempt is really no big deal. Incredible stuff. Science has shown us that lowering your body temperature at night improves sleep in many ways. Our sponsor, Chili Sleep, creates systems that cool down your bed, promoting deeper, higher quality sleep. It also just feels great. I use it at home. I'd recommend it to anyone, and I've recommended it to some friends who now use it as well. Chili Sleep's product, the Uller, the Cube, and the Dock Pro, they're all water-based, temperature-controlled pads that fit onto your existing mattress. You can keep your bed as low as 55 degrees, as hot as 115 degrees. I like 60. Their new Dock Pro sleep system has double the cooling power of other models, 5 times the cooling contact, whisper quiet. You can control it with your phone. It's awesome. With Chili Sleep, there's no more feeling hot at night, no more sweating. Cooling your bed down like this is amazing. You really have to try it for yourself. When you go to chilisleep.com/Pacman, you'll get 30% off the Uller and Cube sleep systems and 10% off the new Dock Pro. This offer is only for my audience. The link is down below.